I'm gay and I'm married to a woman, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my gay little childhood today, because let me tell you, the world ain't kind to the limp-wristed gay kid with the divorced parents who's overweight. And it's just like, God, is it crazy. And maybe things have gotten better for kids in this day and age. I'm talking about 20 plus years ago, growing up gay in a smaller town sort of situation. I currently live in Los Angeles. It seems to just be gay as shit all the time here. But I know that's not the case for all of the United States, and especially not all of the world. So I grew up in Olympia, Washington, which as a whole is actually a very progressive place, very liberal, like lots, but not like the liberal out here in LA, which is like liberal, want to pretend like they're hippies even though they're multimillionaires. I'm like, look, you got millions of dollars and you live in Brentwood, quit drinking out of a fucking mason jar, okay? You're not fooling anybody here. Anyway, I grew up in a place where all people could afford was a damn mason jar. It wasn't done out of quirk, it was done out of necessity. And these hippies were the real deal. Like, no showers, hair on the damn arms, shopping at the co-op, and but very progressive, like I said. Now, where I went to school was actually a little bit outside of Olympia in a town called Lacey, and we had progress, but we had a very mixed bag of kids. There was a lot of military kids. It was just a little more of the taste of the small town. And then my dad lived in a very small town called Chehalis. He still does. And that is like a very church-centric, very conservative town. And this is about 45-minute drive away from Olympia. So very, very different environments that I grew up in. And being the gay kid was not always easy in all of them. Even for the progressive place of Olympia, there was still backwards thinking, and little kids, just, they get right to the nerve. They see something in you and they just want to call it out and just make you feel like shit about it. And so I remember constantly at the place I got called gay the most as a little kid was theater. And I'm like, you're calling me gay and we're all here doing theater? As my good friend once said, all theater is gay. And most of these kids, I'm sure, were gay themselves and couldn't deal with it and wanted to take it out on me. And so one kid named Galen, by the way, I'm calling his ass out. I didn't change his name or anything. Galen. He used to always make fun of me for being gay. Every time he'd see me and be like, yes, and like mock my voice or something. Granted, I'm 8 years old. Like, piss off, Galen. And then, like I said, I'm also overweight. So then it was, we can see his breasts through his shirt. You're big. So it's just like not fun. And I was talented. I would get good roles in the theater because I was good at being an actress. And that, of course, created more of that sort of energy of let's pick on him, because I wasn't the conventional beauty as a lot of these other kids were that were getting roles. I just had the grit and the talent. There's sawdust and glitter in these lungs. And so I did theater starting around 8 years old. But also this was one of the first places where I was introduced to gay people being in my life. There were a number of adults around me who were gay and were partnered, and I started to see this life and see that, you could be this way, and that people were happy being out and proud. But I was very far away from ever owning that for myself. I knew I had the gay feelings, and I even had a crush on one of the boys in theater, and he was probably, I was like 8 and he was like 14, so he was a bit older than me. But I just remember being like having these crazy thoughts. Like the first time you really have a crush and it's so extreme. Like I thought about, I would take a bullet for him. I would give my life for him. And I'm like, what the hell was I thinking in that time? And anyway, that's just crazy. So that was its own thing. And then school was its own thing. And school, I didn't really get mocked until around 6th grade. 6th grade is really where it started to take a dark turn to be the gay kid. And I think maybe that's when kids started to have more awareness of that sort of thing, started to, I don't know, go through puberty, and there's that sort of divide now. You're not all just little kids. There's the straight boys, and they start having awareness of girls, and maybe they start having awareness of the gay kid more. And so I just got really railed into in 6th grade. And that was probably the worst of it. Middle school was also bad. Once I got to about 8th grade, it started to ease up, because what happened was I went through 2 years of that sort of bullying. And this included kids on the playground, one of them even threatening my life over being gay, just kids just yelling it out. I'd just be walking by and they'd be like, gay kid, there's the gay kid. And I'm like, what the heck did I even do? How can they even tell? I've never even talked to this child. And yet somehow it's getting around that I'm the gay kid. And then in middle school, one kid called me gay, and I remember throwing a desk. I went into a classroom, it was like a break, and I went outside, and he was like, where's your boyfriend, gay kid, or something like that. And I was just so mad, and I walked back inside, and I went into the classroom, and I just tipped a desk over. And people were like shocked, and it was just like one of those first moments of like real anger coming out of me over this that I can so distinctly remember. And so the gay thing was, yeah, it's most extreme those 2 years, 6th and 7th grade. Once I got to 8th grade, I started to come into my own personality in a different way. And people started to, I think, respect it, because the gay kid, the kid who gets bullied, they have 2 routes they can go. They can retreat further into their shell, and they can be sad, or they can be upset and maybe make personal attacks, overeat, all these things, these negative things. And I instead just said, I don't care what people think. I'm going to be weird. I'm going to be gay. I'm going to be the weirdest version of myself. And what ended up happening is more and more people liked me, and I became very popular very quickly. So it was like a complete 180 turn. And I came into my own as a person, and my grandpa also helped me lose a ton of that weight. So when I was in 6th grade, my grandma went to my grandpa and was like, you got to do something to help him because he's getting so big. And I'm like, Grandma, that's probably because you took me to Taco Bell after school every day. And I wasn't really the exercising type. Oh, here's Samantha.
Do the full thing.
Okay.